Hello, I'm Sarah. This is Hardcover Hearts, and you're here with the second of what I think is going to end up being a 5-installment series on my books that I purchased in my European trip that I just got back from. I made mention in my previous video that the reason I'm breaking this up is because I don't want these videos to be over wordy and so long that it's just impossible to get through. And I also feel when I see the clock ticking, I feel like I need to speed up. So this gives me the space to talk about the books and let you know where I got them, why I got them, a little bit about them, which I think is what you're looking for in a haul video, right? So this one is focused on Paris and the books purchased there. The previous one was LA and Italy. Feel free to take a look at that. That should already be up by the time this one comes out. But I'm filming it all in one day, and then I'm just going to take my time to edit each of them and put it up when they're done, because editing takes a while. So with that said, let's jump right in because I'm really excited to show you what I got in Paris. Many of you know I have been doing Duolingo for 643 days, I think is the official count now, solidly. So this has kept me sane during the pandemic, kept my brain functioning and challenged. It's challenged me. I was also reading Proust during the pandemic. So that the whole experience has really prepped me for being so anxious and so excited and elated to finally be back in Paris. So I went with a mission, and the first mission was that I wanted to buy some Ernaux books in French. I do have 2 Ernaux books in French that I already own. Passion Simple, about an affair that she had, a love affair, I should say, and Le Jeune Homme, about a young man that I think she had a relationship with, I think. Go Annie. So I have those already, and what I love about her books are that they're thin, they're really small, and although they are complex and rich, they also deal with real life, and so there's not a bunch of vocabulary that might be difficult to relate to. So with her work, she writes about real things. It's very autobiographical, and with a sociological bent to it. She's talking about herself, but she also shares what it's been like in France during those times, during those years. And so I learn a lot. I learn a lot about her, and I also learn a lot about French culture, French society, all of those good things. Plus, as a feminist, she's just spot on with some of the things that she talks about. One of the things that I've done this year in preparation for this trip, and also just to kind of push myself to the next level, is I have a private tutor. So I've been meeting with her twice a week in advance of this trip, and I look forward to starting it back up again. We were supposed to have a time today, but she's not feeling well. But she just got back from Paris as well, and she was going to pick up some Annie Ernaux. So I'm ready and look forward to reading them with her. So the first stop that I always make when I'm in Paris is to Shakespeare Company. I think that's kind of the best known Parisian bookstore for English readers. And but the thing about Shakespeare Company, as much as I love it, it is so hyped and it's such a big deal that you have to wait in line to get in. Now, I don't mind that if they actually managed the inside a little bit better, because still when you go inside, there's still too many people. It's still too cramped. So it's really hard to maintain a safe social distance. It's hard to just get that vibe of wanting to explore, to look at the shelf talkers, to really see what's there. So my time in Shakespeare Company was, I kept it to a minimum because I was masked, trying to stay safe, keep people away from me. So I kind of went in with a mission and then was open to whatever shelf talkers I could find. But this is a book that I wanted to own. This is The Years by Annie Ernaux. Now I read this. This is my copy that I read. This was translated by Allison Strayed and published by Fitzcarraldo. I ate this up. There's so many tabs. I absolutely adored it. And this is what really led me to be such an Ernaux fangirl. So I, of course, had to get The Years in French. Again, this is more ambitious. I'm going to hold off on this. Now, we're lucky. Annie Ernaux is still alive. She's still alive. She's been writing and continues to write. And in fact, there's a magazine that I found that has an interview with her that I will be spending my time with as well, with my dictionary, trying to decipher and figure out what exactly it is that she's talking about in that interview. But let me show you, I'll show you a little bit later some other books that I found at a different store, because I want to focus on stores and what I found there. So yes, this is The Years, Les Années, and it's magnificent if you have not yet read it. Another book that I found that this was an impulse buy, this is Lauren Elkin's book. It's called number 9192, Notes on a Parisian Commute. And I found this to sound really, really good. So she was commuting in Paris. She wrote Flâneuse. I should back up. Women Who Walk the City. So it's a take on the concept of the flâneur, the gentleman who wanders and kind of allows serendipity to take him on a journey of the city. And she wrote something for women in the same spirit. And she wrote this on her commute using her iPhone. And just kind of typing it in. So it's reflections on her experiences as a commuter going through Paris. Little reflections and notes and thoughts. So I thought that sounded quite interesting. Also found this book, and this is Jean Rhys's Good Morning Midnight. Really beautiful cover there. Now, I know her from Wide Sargasso Sea, which is her take on the prequel, doing a prequel to Jane Eyre and centering the madwoman upstairs in the attic and telling her backstory, which I think was so smart. And I just love the spirit of humanizing some of these characters in fiction. Side note, I am dying and I would love for someone to write a backstory on the wife of Stoner by John Williams. Because I think that character needs some explanation, and I'd like to know a little bit more about her with a different lens. But that's a side note. Okay, back to this. So this is set in Paris. I have already read this, and I will be talking about this in a upcoming week of reading wrap up. But this is really the story of this woman who's down and out. It's kind of like Hotel de Lac, where Hotel de Lac was a take from Anita Brookner. It was a take on this woman who did something bad and was kind of sent away by her friends to kind of think it over in a dilapidated hotel in Switzerland on a lake. And it's very sedate, and they're a lot of older people doing very proper things. This is the exact opposite. This is a woman who's kind of gotten out of control, and she's been sent to Paris to kind of clean it up, but she doesn't. More debauchery, more drinking, more sorrow, and pain ensue. The next book is The Power of a Good Shelf Talker. I knew nothing about this book. This is Winter Love, and let me show you by Han Suyin. It's just a plain by itself, but then you add this really gorgeous wrapper, kind of glossy wrapper, and you have these women kind of standing in maybe an alley or some kind of darkened corner. And this is really the story of Red, Bettina, also known as Red, who falls in love and has a romance with Mara, who is a married woman. This all takes place in the final months of World War II in London. Very atmospheric, bold, poignant, but sad too. I'm talking about this more in depth in my week of reading that I'll be filming later today, so stay tuned for that. Okay, so that was all I did at Shakespeare Company. Again, like really fast through there. I do also want to mention that when I was checking out and talking to the women behind the counter, I thanked them for the year of reading subscription that I've been a member of for the past, this will be my second year, and how it really kept me in the spirit of Paris, even though I was homebound because of the pandemic. And they said that they really are dying for feedback about the books in the bundle, because they send them out and they see a lot of unboxing on Bookstagram and YouTube, but they don't hear any specific feedback on how it was, if people liked that book, if the collection was strong. And so I wanted to say that because I know that a lot of you have followed my unboxing and some of my reviews in my week of reading as I go through them. But if you have taken on the subscription, please let them know when you read a book, if it fit your taste, if it didn't, if it was a good choice, so that they can get that feedback and make the subscription bundle better. So that's my public service announcement for Shakespeare Company. So the next day, we went back to that side of town, and I wanted to go to a place that Dee Dee of Brown Girl Reading had told me to go. This is one of her favorite used bookstores in Paris, and that is the San Francisco Book Company. And so because I live in the San Francisco Bay Area, of course I needed to check it out. So I went there. I didn't find anything that I particularly loved except for one book that I wanted to read. And this kind of kept my love of Venice, kept feeding that. And this is Donna Leon's next installment that I needed to read in her Commissario Brunetti series. I had previously finished, right before going, Quietly in Their Sleep, which is the number 6. Now, I think it's also published in the UK or Europe as The Death of Faith. And I found it to be remarkable, like literally the best one that I've read in the series so far. Loved it. I'll be doing a wrap-up of that as well in the same video as the last book. So I'll put more of that there. But I loved the cover, and I thought, what a nice way to keep Venice alive, even though we've moved on to Paris. So I got this, and I'm currently reading this one now. I did go to the Abbey, and I have had previously really good luck with the Abbey. That's closer to Shakespeare Company, and this time, though, it was too much for me. I will admit, the Abbey didn't do anything wrong. It was me. The social distance, it is already such a claustrophobic, tiny little shop. All the way up to the ceiling, just books everywhere, which usually gets me really excited. But there were too many people, not enough room, definitely not enough recycled air. And so I made my way out of that without purchasing anything, which was a shame. But the next bookstore we found was ironically the closest to where we were staying at our hotel. We had been taking all sorts of routes. Every single morning we would take a different direction and just kind of become Flâneuse and wandering the city and exploring and finding the best meals and the best parks to read in and all of that glorious Parisian stuff. And it just so happened we came on our way back to the hotel through a different route. I saw this bookstore, and it's called Ici, and it's French only. I think they did have a small selection of English language books, but it was primarily a French bookstore, which is what I was looking for. So let me show you what I found. I found some Annie Ernaux. This is L'Autre Fille, and this one is not yet translated into English, But it's about the death of her sister. Her sister was 6 years old when she died, tragically. And Annie thinks that because of her death, she was able to live. So I don't know if it's a case of the parents only intending to have a certain number of children, and then after the death of this child, they were willing to try again. But it's that sounds very poignant and like a difficult thing that she's had to deal with in her upbringing. So yeah, that sounds amazing. This is L'Occupation, and this is also known in English as The Possession. Now, this is translated into English. This was published in 2002. And it's about the kind of a retrospective on a breakup that she had with a lover, and really fixating on the new woman and the way that it's kind of possessing her mind. So sounds very riveting. Then this is the book that I was looking for after the years. Now this I could not find this in Shakespeare Company, but I really wanted to own it. In English, it's called Happening, and it has been published by Fitzcarraldo Edition. In French, it is called L'Événement, and it is about her abortion. She talks very frankly about the abortion that she had. This was released in the year 2000. And was a very frank look at abortion. And given what's happening in our country right now with women's reproductive health being at risk, I think that's very important. And so this is something I'm hoping to be able to read very soon, whether in English or in French. Then Dee Dee of Brown Girl Reading, I just talked about her a little earlier. When I started wanting to kind of reinvest in language, specifically French, she told me that one of the best things you could do is to use graphic novels, and that French have a very wonderful tradition of graphic novels, and that's a really great entree into the language. So I have taken her advice, and I have a bunch of digital, but digital, beautiful, and I love reading comics digitally and graphic novels digitally. I love the new technology that's really enhanced the experience. But for language study, it's not always the best. I really like to look at everything, contextualize it, and take notes, and put all that. So I need the tactile experience. So first I went to one of my childhood favorites, and that is Asterisks and Obliques. This is Asterisks chez Le Breton, and this is done by R. Goscinny and A. Uderzo. But I've always loved, growing up in Mozambique, I read the Asterisks and Obliques comics in English and loved them. I mean, the puns, the history. Maybe this is how I fell in love with historical fiction. I don't know, but it's delightful. I find it so amusing and so funny. So being able to get a comic, a graphic novel was perfect on order. Then I saw the next one, and this one really appealed to me in its quietness of the art, its sedateness, its kind of everyday appeal. And this is Nagasaki by Agnès Hostage. And it won the Grand Prix de Roman de l'Académie Française. And let me show you a little bit inside. Just looks like really tranquil, beautiful art, and very simple. I really liked the simplicity of it all. So looking forward to spending some time with this. I think I'm going to devote a little bit of Sunday mornings to reading the graphic novels. It just feels like a nice Sunday morning thing to do, right? And then the last graphic novel that I found kind of is a meld between all of this. The design of it appealed to me, the art appealed to me, but also the subject matter. This is a tongue twister. This is La institutrice, première partie, ne fait pas à autrui. Look how gorgeous that is. And this is by Yves Lavandière and Carole Morel. This looks to be like a teacher. Oh my God, wait till you see the inside. Ah, isn't it so wonderful? This kind of art, the line drawings and the way it's done, it just melts my heart. It looks to be the story of a teacher and her students during the time of the Vichy regime and the incursion of Nazis into France and some of the complications that starts and causes for the families of these children. I mean, look at that. So very excited, as you can tell, to read those. Then the last bookstore was a complete surprise. My husband and I had decided that day we were going to walk the ChampsElysees, we were going to see the Arc de Triomphe, we were going to have a little lunch. I was going to go to a French tea maker that I think is just the ultimate and buy some tea. And I wanted to go and sit in the Tuileries and read and to soak up all of the history of Belle Epoque Paris that Marcel Proust talked about. Imagine all of the characters walking up and down and taking their promenade and to sit by the fountain and enjoy a good book. And we did that, and it was absolutely glorious. And as we were walking out toward the metro, we looked across the street, and there is an English-speaking bookstore called SmithSun. It was not on my radar, but of course he and I looked at each other and made a beeline straight for it. And in there, I was really hoping to find more French translated fiction, translated into French, as well as maybe just kind of see what they had in terms of their offerings from English translations. And I found a few really great books. So the first one I've been wanting to get for a while. This is Virginie Dispente's Vernon Subutex, #1. So this is part of a trilogy. This was up for the Man Booker International 2018. And I have her Fitzcarraldo edition of King Kong Theory, and I haven't read this yet. So I think I want to read this first. And I've heard it's chaotic, bombastic. She's a feminist, a really radical feminist, a little punk. So I imagine a lot of rebellion, a lot of wild, propulsive energy in this book. So looking forward to finally getting to this. And then I found this book that sounded phenomenal, and I just saw won a prize from Ireland, one of the literary prizes. This is The Art of Losing by Alice Zeniter. I picked it up because it won the Prix Goncourt de Lycée and was shortlisted for the Prix Goncourt itself, and also won the Prix Littéraire Le Monde. So obviously it's winning a ton of awards. I don't know much about it, except that it has to deal with poverty, racism, immigrant experience. Sounds great, and the Shelf Talker really sold it for me. So yay. So that's it. That is all of the books that I bought in Paris and what I sent back home. I'm looking forward to reading many of these, and most importantly, to getting my French up to speed so that I can finally say that I have finished one of these in French by myself, and I've done it. So stay tuned for that day, though I will be insufferable. I warn you ahead of time. I'm going to be so elated. But thank you for watching all of this. I would love to know, have you read any of these? Are you interested in any of the books that I've read? And based on these, are there any that you would like to recommend to me? Always here for that. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for the next ones, which will be one on Edinburgh, Manchester, and Bath, and then 2 on my London purchases. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.